Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this carry guide we're going to be visiting the eternal question, should you gank or farm? And now in Season 10 that question has become even more important with the lower cooldown timers and all the things we've talked about in the past couple of videos. And to explain these points as best we can, we have two examples, one in the higher MMRs looking at the nuances of farming and counter jungling balanced with your pressure and how to, keep that lead over the enemy jungler. And then we also have one that will apply to most of you looking at a ganking versus farming playstyle in terms of what you need to assess in having that impact while also maintaining an experience lead over the enemy jungler as you manage to balance ganking more than him as well as farming more than him, and of course keeping those dragons under your control. And if you want to be a greater jungler, understanding lane states across the map are most vital. So as is here with this esports masterclass brought to you by gamersclass.com.
When I'm watching myself, 95% of the time I'm actually just watching the minimap. In this course I will teach you how to get better in a solo queue environment. I will be talking about teleports. The ideal is that you TP with your jungle. They are zoned out basically. You're just sandwiching them, how we like to call it. I'm Paul Boyer, also known as SOAS, and this is my gamers class.
So if you want to try a free lesson or even get a 15% discount for your course, please click the link in the description below. So we'll start off with our first example that is higher MMR and looks a bit more at the nuances of AFK farming and not really applying any lane pressure, but how you can still win with that playstyle. And to do that we have Kha'Zix versus Nocturne. Kha'Zix with that nice Conqueror rune of course. And so in terms of our higher elo main example of balancing that ganking and farming, this game exudes both those properties. Now instead of having an invade on the blue buff and other such shenanigans, the Kha'Zix decides to be very interesting and goes from red Krugs to Raptors before doing his whole blue side. The Nocturne on the other hand does his red side into his blue into a bottom lane gank. This in turn burns the flashes of the enemy bottom lane. Leon appeals nicely, he loses his flash but he does get out alive. Now in terms of ganking versus farming, in this case there's no question. Good jungling dictates that you take that crab and then head to the bottom lane and repeat and abuse. The Nocturne does this. He picks up 2 assists, his bottom lane's ahead, and he is ahead in terms of his overall map contributions. He wasn't ahead though at level 3 at the Scuttle Crab because a full clear gives you level 4 and a failed gank doesn't give you anything. Now because of the successful gank, they're both on equal terms at level 4. Now this is where things get very interesting. Let's slide in the minimap here. Last season you knew that when someone did a red side clear, ganked and went to the other side of the map, you knew that the Krugs and Raptors would spawn at what? Around 4 minutes 30-31 for the Krugs. That means in Season 10, because of the lower camp timers, those Krugs are going to spawn at 4 minutes 01, maybe 02 depending on the jungle. Because Nocturne ganked, the Kha'Zix immediately knows, hey, let me check the timer, close to 4 minutes, let me head to those Krugs, I can take them. Then he can also sequence on down and take the Raptors. And what you should be doing is leaving a baby behind, because now the Nocturne will have to clear those and then wait an additional 2 minutes for the new camps to spawn, which of course technically will spawn at a level higher than him because he is behind. In Season 9 this would give you catch-up experience, Rubber Bandit XP, and let you catch up. However in Season 10, even though the Krugs and Raptors will spawn at a higher level than the Nocturne, he will get the regular experience from the camps and no catch-up experience, meaning he will simply be behind and those camps were lost to time, lost to the universe. Although he is kind of from the void and darkness, so I guess he is also, but that doesn't give him experience on Summoner's Rift, and as such the Kha'Zix technically will have the lead. And because of this, that means the Nocturne will have to find other ways to make it up, either by stealing Kha'Zix's camps back or by having a bit more activity in terms of ganking. And don't forget there is catch-up experience on epic monsters, dragons, heralds, barons, and so securing that can really help you also. Now you will see as Kha'Zix goes back to base and heads to his second round of Krugs, he will be level 5. The Nocturne, who had done his blue side camps and gone back to base, has to clear those camps on the top side, but he's still level 4. He has been stifled. Now from his perspective, you have to try and get back into the game. You do have to remember that giving a gank to your laners helps them, have leads and be able to 2v2 and 1v1 themselves, as Nocturne's bottom lane does in this case. I know it doesn't always happen for all of you, but let's assume in this case good things do and can happen. Now the Nocturne here, he can go and invade the Kha'Zix and take his blue side camps and in turn get some of that experience back. You stole my camps, I steal your camps, now we're on equal terms. That's kind of what you're looking for. But if you don't know where the Kha'Zix is, even though he shot on the bottom lane, if you don't know where he could be exactly, holding towers now and absorbing that solo lane experience can be very useful. The problem is if you do that on the opposite side of the map, You can give up your bottom side camps and you can give up dragons, so it's not always the best play. However, despite the fact that the Kha'Zix gets a nice counter gank off the mid lane, gets himself a kill, the Nocturne, just by holding that experience wave on the top lane, dings level 6 before the Kha'Zix, who does get that RNG crab on the top side. Now they're both level 6. A note on Kha'Zix, he did evolve those Qs first. That's because quicker to take those dragons, better for skirmishing. You're not looking to gank as much, you are looking to farm quickly. That does help him out here. He does have the Conqueror rune as well. He does his Grump and his Wolves before going back to base, whereas the Nocturne sequences on down from his red, Wolves, and then he can use that R on the bottom lane and get himself another 2 assists. From there you can shove and take the dragon. Now here's the thing, the Kha'Zix hasn't ganked one time. He had one little skirmish in the mid lane as a counter gank fight, and he got 2 kills from it, but it wasn't an active gank. If there was nothing going on there, he would have just taken that dragon. So in terms of a farming versus ganking possibility range, in terms of experience, they're both coming out equal because the Nocturne had successful ganks. If they were not successful and he had lost those camps, and he had done 0 counter jungling himself, he would 100% be behind. That's why Nocturne's so good in this meta, because he can farm fast to control his camps, and he can also have very easy ganks once that R is up. Now, as you can see, the Nocturne wanted his laners to rotate for that dragon, Kha'Zix wanted his laners to rotate for that dragon, and it's quite messy. There's a lot of intricate things about why people rotate and why they don't, and we talked about it in the Why Junglers Hate Laners episode, and perhaps again we can look at it for Season 10, but nonetheless, with the Evolve Q plus Smite, no one is outsmiting a Kha'Zix at the dragon. It ends up being a 1v1 with both junglers surviving, and so the neutral objective goes to Kha'Zix, the ganking goes to the Nocturne, and the farming goes to the Kha'Zix. Both are still equal level, and both junglers fall back into their jungles to clear those camps. Now, I do have a good point about ganking and farming, so don't worry, I'm not sort of saying you should do both. I'm going to tell you exactly what's best for you. The Kha'Zix sequenced up and did his topside camps, right? And now he falls to the Herald. Now, the best way to get back into it in terms of a raw experience thing is through kills and through those epic monsters. The Kha'Zix is on the Herald. The Nocturne has a feeling he's probably on the Herald. The Nocturne goes in, the Renekton's there, he ults the Kha'Zix, but Kha'Zix gets the smite, and then you watch the power of that Evolve Q, his R plus the Conqueror synergy. He lives, he gets out, he goes back to base. Level 8 to level 7, and in the end, you can kind of see who has had the better impact on the game. You definitely want to say Nocturne, but then you look at it and you're like, well, Kha'Zix is carrying this. He has the objective focus, he has the power level over the enemy jungler, and that's all because he counter jungled one time. And now the Kha'Zix goes to the top lane, he wants to use that Herald, get some plates, and so he can secure another Herald soon after and get more towers, but the Nocturne waffles around the bottom side. He's not farming, he's looking for a gank, he's wasting time, and that right there, that patience or waste of time on waffling is what's going to kill you as a jungler in Season 10. Do not do this. There needs to be a purpose to every single one of your actions. He ends up taking one camp, rotating to the top lane, ulting in to try and kill the Kha'Zix and the Renekton, but he's down 2 levels at this point, and there's no catch-up experience, so becoming desperate is not what you want to happen. And so you might think, hey, well, Virkayu, this means that I should farm, right? No, it means you should counter jungle, pay very close attention to when those epic monsters are up, because securing those denies the enemy jungler even more experience and basically denies him the catch-up experience. So even though he's ganking, if you can secure those things, you end up winning that 1v1 matchup. Now you have to exert your will on the map, much like the Kha'Zix did. Okay, so you're slightly confused. What exactly should you be doing? Let's look at an example where I played on my Smurf, but the enemy team consisted of entirely Diamond 4s, and on my team only Plats. So in essence, this is a very good example of how you should be playing no matter what your MMR range, because playing the Kha'Zix's way there only really works if the enemy jungler doesn't get huge successful ganks and get those dragons. If you're gonna AFK farm and counter jungle and ignore your lanes entirely, well, you can't really expect much to happen in their favor if the enemy jungler is having a lot of successful ganks. Yes, you stifle the enemy jungler, but if in this case the Nocturne and the laners were getting the dragons, getting the heralds, he was getting a lot more ganks going, well, you're going to be behind in experience. So let's look at this gameplay breakdown of exactly how we need to play in order to 1v9 that early to mid game. Now, obviously I'm playing Rek'Sai, she's one of my mains. Enemy jungler is Shaco, who is definitely high up on the tier list. I just made a video on that. And this is it. The best junglers for Season 10, the best way to play is ones that allow you to react, to gank, and also to farm efficiently in between those activities. I started on red and I go to the Krugs. The plan was to go to Raptors. You say, well, that's boring, that's the same as Season 9. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if you do it on the red side, doesn't matter if you do it on the blue side, but a level 3 into a gank is such a huge thing for your team. I skipped my Raptors, knowing that I'd hit level 3 on the kill. Dwayne B had told me that the flash was down on the Yasuo, which means I didn't have to worry too much about him escaping. We grabbed the kill, we shoved the lane, I moved to the top side. Now, I was going to sequence from the wolves, grab into the blue to have nice camp sequencing, and also because I knew the Shaco's probably on the top side, and I didn't want to be cheesed or invaded as I was kinda low HP. Unfortunately for him, he shows on the top side trying to gank a Rise. I don't know why you would level 3 gank top lane in this meta. It tells you everything about his game plan and where he's going to be. Now because he shows, I know where he is. I don't stick around to finish my Gromp and my blue and farm nice and pretty. I say, I'm going to take that Scuttle Crab, thank you very much. You also know those Raptors are going to be spawning very soon. Probably you're going to arrive there a little early. However, because the Yasuo has no flash, because the Nautilus has infinite CC and you have CC, why not take a nice little ganking angle and remove him from the game even more? Pick up a kill. Head to the bottom side. Now what you could do is take that crab. And you'll notice Shaco's behavior on the bottom left of the screen. I'm not going to talk much about it because I'm only going to talk about what I see and the decisions that are made because of it, not necessarily why the Shaco's playing the way he is, because there's no explanation for it. Now, if you know the jungle matchup, you could invade the blue, contest it, steal it, kill him, just beware of bottom lane prio. Now, a smarter approach probably would have been take the crab, investigate his jungle, steal his blue, Grump and wolves, really new to him and counter the fact that he stole my blue buff. However, I've kind of got this ganking hyper aggression thing in my mind, you know, can just sometimes take over, but you know, you can't really expect people that are much lower than you in rank to understand the nuance of an early tower dive. I wouldn't necessarily flash in to get the double kill and give a shutdown to the Tristana. However, in terms of gold payout and experience, if you know how to use it, it's a good thing as long as you actually do use it, okay? Now, from my perspective, I would have seen that Shaco was still on the top side after the tower dive. I respawn, I go back, I think, well, now I can get my Krugs and my Raptors, my second spawn. This gives me control of the bottom side of the map, that's fantastic. But because the Yasuo will still be pushing, he's Yasuo, he's versus Nautilus, let me go gank mid again first, and it gives me all the prior and pressure I need. Before that happens, Shaco again shows up on the top side, and that's his big mistake. I'm not really following what he does, because if he wants to sit there and do that versus scaling Rise, who's very strong currently, well, I'm going to take control of everything else. And if your everything else is simply farming, the pressure Shaco would be exerting would actually be working. He's putting the Rise a bit behind, he's leaving the mid and bottom lanes to their fates. Whatever happens, happens. And if you're an AFK farming jungler like I would be if I wasn't the Rek'Sai, then I'm also doing the same thing and I'd be having no impact. But we did have impact, I get the dragon as well, and you'll notice why this goes on. The Shaco finally does his blue side camps. Now there's a strategy to also leaving those up. You could have probably taken them. However, the fact that he only does them now, they're level 1. Yeah, there's no catch-up experience, but there's still a difference between a camp being level 1 and being level 5 or 6 in terms of the experience that it gives you. So because he thought he was vertical jungling, you almost counter-jungled him by not counter-jungling him, and the fact that you got the dragon, multiple ganks on the mid lane, ganks on the bottom lane, you cleared your whole red side again and your second red buff, you are way ahead of him in terms of pressure as well as farm. Shaco's game plan is very much how to gank badly and also how to farm inefficiently, and what can happen when the enemy jungler exploits that by having a hyperactive ganking playstyle that's centered around cleaning up camps in between. And while I've said that, you should have seen that I actually went to the mid lane again. I left the baby Krugs alone. I noticed there was a fight breaking out. I used my tunnels to get there quickly, hit the Q, press R, goodbye Yasuo once again. By the way, this guy was very tilted in chat. And this is my good advice for those looking to understand ganking and farming in the balance. Try and farm in quadrants, i.e. do your blue side camps, look to gank, look to take an objective. And if you continually farm like that, you know you will at least have 2 camps spawning together. You can always sequence around the map as necessary. But as you've seen from my game in this one, if there is a fight, if there is an opportunity to go and get a kill, to gank, to get a dragon, don't hesitate to leave a camp and go and do that. In this case, I've done my blue camps now. I circumnavigate the vision of the Yasuo, I gank on the mid lane. Then I'm going to fall back now. The goal is to fall back, do my red side camps, and look for that next dragon control. But the Shaco shows up, I do react, I am able to kill him. I didn't really want to use my ult, but I chomped the wrong thing and he disappeared, but at least he's dead, that abomination. And then I can take the crab and fall back into my jungle. The Yasuo's there, my mid lane is dead. Now isn't the time to try and sneak a Drake. I can do my Krugs, hit level 9, I'm 2 levels up on the Shaco. I shadow a gank in the mid lane just in case, you know, the Yasuo and the Nautilus fight again. And because my bottom lane have gotten back to lane, I have the support necessary to go and take that Drake. And essentially my bottom lane is ahead. They did win slightly by themselves. The presence I had in terms of dragons and the tower dive earlier on did it help? I don't know, game shut down to Tristana. But nonetheless, they actually ended up being net neutral and won. We had the dragon support. Shaco was a horrific jungler this game. He does main jungle somehow. But you can see the point is when you play like this Rek'Sai, you gank the mid lane, you find a lane to camp, and you sequence your camps so well that there's no way they can counter jungle them. In addition to guaranteeing because of your pressure and river control that you get those dragons, you basically end up with a scenario where you're still up by 2 levels because you're farming in quadrants, you're reacting to fights to get a gank as soon as possible, and you're also spam ganking as you would normally. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. I know it's difficult to sort of ask that ganking or farming question, but hopefully it's a good enough example that you can see the benefits and cons for both of these styles. Please make sure you like, share, and comment. We always like to get around 1,000 likes per video. Subscribe for more of those jungle videos coming very soon, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.